This is Judy Spencer, my mother. Judy, can you tell me about what year you were born and what your parents' names were, and maybe if you know what their parents' names were?
I was born Judith Ann Varley on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio, April 10th, 1942. My mother was Rose. My father was Thomas. My father's parents were Thomas and Catherine. No, I'm sorry, Thomas and Margaret. My mother's parents were George and Catherine. And I have two brothers and two sisters. I'm the oldest. Thomas and Karen, Jackie, and Robert.
Excellent. Now tell me where your family grew up and where you were born.
Born in Youngstown, Ohio. Like I said, April 10th, 1942, during the war. My father was in World War II. Grew up on the south side of Youngstown, went to St. Patrick's grade school. Then I went to Cardinal Mooney High School. And then I got married.
So you went to Cardinal Mooney. How did you and Dad meet?
At a basketball party after a basketball game. A bunch of kids from Ursuline, which was the other Catholic high school, came over and we were having a party from Cardinal Mooney High School. And we just met, and then he called me up a couple days later and asked me out.
Tell me about your first date.
We went to a minstrel show with another couple. And I'll never forget it because after the minstrel show we went to get something to eat, had shrimp, got so sick I couldn't go to work the next day.
Sick? Just food sickness?
I guess I haven't had a shrimp since then. So.
Really? Huh, didn't know that.
But that's something you remember.
So you went to high school, and do you have any memories of high school that you want to share? Was it a good experience for you?
Yeah, I liked high school because it was a small school. We started out as freshmen and sophomore and then worked up. So you got to know everyone. I liked the nuns. I liked the priests. They tried to get me in the convent, but no way. So it was a good experience. I liked high school a lot.
So from there, you met Paul, and you got married. Now, what year was it you got married?
March of 1961.
And you graduated from high school?
In June of 60.
So you didn't waste any time getting married?
No. Well, I knew Paul from when I was a junior in high school, and we were planning on getting married. But he was in the service. That's when he went into the service and was in basic training.
I see. And then, so you got married, and then you had Rick.
Yes.
And
15 months later, I had Jeffrey.
Then you had Jeffrey. Either one of those terrible labors, and you had terrible. Both of them were good births.
Very easy. I didn't gain much weight. Very easy births. No problems.
And then, so what were you thinking about? What did you think about? Did you know going into the marriage that you were going to be moving all over the U.S. and Germany, or was that a surprise to you? I mean,
well, I knew nothing about military life, nothing, and you learn as you go, and you're young, and you meet other people that are in the military, and you're all in the same boat. You make all the same money, and if you're an easygoing person like I am, you just accept it, and you just do it, and you enjoy it.
So tell me, do you have any stories you'd like to share about growing up with your two brothers and two sisters, and your mom and dad, and what was the address you lived at?
85 East Chalmers Avenue.
And how long did you live there?
From 3rd grade until I got married.
So most of your life.
Right.
And so how about any memories that stick out in your mind? Any pleasant, unpleasant, great moments of growing up?
We had a good childhood. My father worked in a mill. Never had much money because you just didn't. He was either on strike, he was either laid off, or he was working good. And my mother worked, and just was a everyday happy life. I mean, we were just happy kids, you know.
And so your dad worked in a mill. Did your mom work?
She worked at the Strauss's department store. And that was my first job when I was 16. I worked in the young men's department. I worked there until I graduated from high school. Then I worked in McKelvey's department store up in the offices. And after we got married, I moved to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I did not work.
You did not work, so you became a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And so what was that experience for you, going to a new town, new family, not knowing anybody? Was it traumatic for you, or did it make
No,
you
it really,
go out?
it really wasn't traumatic. I was the kind of person, I just accept things the way they are, and you make friends and new experiences, and I had you and Jeffrey, and it was a good experience. Our time in the service was real good. I have no problem. I have no complaint about it at all.
Do you have any regrets not having a girl?
No, I wouldn't know what to do with a little girl.
Do you wish you had more kids?
No.
No, and was that decision that you both agreed upon, or?
Yes.
And who went in and took care of themselves? Did you?
Me.
You went in so you could not have any more kids.
Right.
I see.
You're personal.
Yeah, I am personal. I'm probably a little more personal than I need to be, but I'm just kind of curious. So you traveled around, and tell me again, let's see, you were at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, then you went to Merced, then you went to Germany. Let me think. Can you relate any funny stories growing up with your brothers and sisters?
Yeah, well, with 5 kids, around the supper table, there were 7 of us. And my brother that's 3 years younger than me, he loved to harass the younger girls. And he'd say, like, when you go to the bathroom, when your poop hits the water, does it splash up and hit you in the butt? Of course, then we'd all look at my dad, and if he just smiled, then it was okay. But my brother was always cutting up with somebody or something, and we were just a happy family. My mother, God love her, she kept us together through thick and thin, and she raised us mostly. My dad was sickly a lot, and she just did a wonderful job.
How many years did Grandpa spend in the mill?
All his life.
And what did he do for them?
I don't know. I know he worked where they poured steel, and then he worked on the railroad for a while in the mill. But it was a hard job. And in 1957, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And he had surgery, and he was out of work for 3 years, but he eventually went back to work because they said he should die, but he didn't die. He came back and went back to work. He lived till he was 85.
So you moved from Merced to Germany,
Right.
to Indianapolis. No, from Germany to,
Indianapolis.
was it Indianapolis?
And then Indianapolis, I went back to Youngstown and lived for 15 months while Paul went over to Thailand.
Okay,
And then when he came back from Thailand is when we went to Ellensburg, Washington.
Ellensburg. And so were you anxious or ready to retire after 21 years in the Air Force?
Yeah, it was weird because you hear all kind of stories when people retire in the service. You might not have a job, and you might be out there because when you're in the service, you have security. I mean, you have medical, you have a payment you pay check every 2 weeks. All your medical bills are paid. You always have housing, stuff like that. So when he retired, it was like real scary that we would maybe not have all that. But he got a job. He worked all the time after that. So.
Now you decided to go back to work in Ellensburg. Is that
Right,
correct?
Right.
What was that decision for? Why did you decide to go back to work?
I went back to work when we lived in when we lived at March Air Force Base when Rick and Jeff were in junior high.
Okay.
When the boys were in junior high and we were at March Air Force Base, I went and worked at the PX. And I worked in retail in the PX. Then when we moved to Ellensburg, I got a job in the hospital in the kitchen, and took some classes and everything. And by the time I left there 4 years later, I was head cook. And then the boys stayed in Ellensburg in college at Central Washington University. And we came down here to March Air Force Base, and I got a job at Yucaipa High School as the head of the cafeteria, and I kept that job for 23 years. And then retired 5.5 years ago.
23 years. Wow. So what are some of the favorite things that you like to do? What are some of your hobbies or pastimes that you enjoy doing? I mean,
I enjoy going to the pool in the summer, not so much in the winter, but in the summer. I don't have anything. I'm not a physical type person. I should be, but I'm not. I enjoy watching a good old movie, a good black and white movie. I just enjoy my friends. I have many, many friends that I truly enjoy having a cup of coffee with or lunch or something. And I enjoy talking to people on the phone. And I hear from my sons. It's a great day.
so you got 2 boys and how many grandchildren?
3 grandchildren, boys.
What are their names?
Logan, Bennett, and Davis.
Okay. And you live in Southern California and
On the edge of the desert near Palm Springs.
so you traveled a lot in the Air Force. Are there any memories that, or any times in that Air Force stint that stick out in your mind?
No, we have some really good friends that we still keep in touch with, different bases, and I talk to them. But I think the best tour we had was the 3 years in Germany, because I was raised with a German mother and German grandparents, and I had relatives in Germany. So it was a lot of fun to meet them. We saw as much of Europe as we could. We traveled as much as we could. And it was just something we'll remember because we'll probably never get back over there. So I thank the Air Force for that.
Now, if for some reason that your great-great-great-grandson gets to see this video, is there anything you'd like to say to that person? Any advice? Anything other than hello?
Just be true to yourself, true to your partner, and just be a good person. And don't be afraid to show your feelings, and just be a good person. I think good, honest person is all I can tell you to be. That's all.